Hello and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick and this is my daily ramble. Very, very late one. It is Sunday. We are doing our Talk Hammer show tonight at 9 o'clock. But to give you a little bit of a precursor of what it is that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to give you some information now. It's stuff that's been drip-fed through to me over the past week. And do you know what? For a change, I haven't sort of put it. I haven't put it out there because some of the information's been. It just caused nightmares, to be quite honest. So waited for it to sort of get leaked out elsewhere, and there's bits and pieces, and there's information now that I've had now from a few sources, and some of it's already out there. All right, so I can't get shot down in flames on this one. All right, so before we get started though, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and drop a like on the video, please. It does really help us. Tells YouTube to share it around. So yes, okay. Well, look, Carlos Borja. First of all, let's start with this. This is basically about our transfer policy. Okay. As we know, I think it's just us and Fulham, who are in complete disarray. Fulham, you know, they're looking like losing their manager, and you know, bloody Mitrovic has gone on strike and everything else. They haven't signed anyone yet, but we are the only other club to not sign a player up to this point. Now it's looking like we could sign Carlos Borja or Borja. I don't know how you say his name. Very, very exciting prospect. All right, good player, but everyone had the same question. 19 years old, no Premier League experience. Is that a David Moyes player? Is he? Even if we get him, are we going to use him? And so how did we arrive at this? You know, how has this ended up being our first signing? And look, don't get me wrong, I'll be over the moon if he comes in. So I think he's really, really talented. It'd be amazing. But you got to think of the manager we've got. And yeah, so obviously, look, Claret and Hugh reported last night. You know, they've given some quotes from some of the information that I've had for a while and from elsewhere, and it's been validated again today. And that was someone at the club. We know who it is. You know, I haven't got to tell you who it is. You know, he talks to everyone. Monster Man Jens. They said, are we close to signing everyone? And his quote was, look, we're close to signing Carlos Borja from Man City, but nothing else is close. Well, I don't think this bit was on the. I don't think this is on the thing, but he says that the manager's hard work. I won't read the next bit. He says that they made a second bid of 50 million for Fulham's João Palhinha, but the fees quoted have been absolutely ridiculous. They want 80 million. That's rich, isn't it? Coming from Sullivan, complaining about fucking transfer fees being rich, and we played hardball for 100 million for Declan Rice. This was always going to happen, mate. You've literally you've told the world you've got 100 million. You've played it all out in the media. Everyone knows you got it over 2 years as well. What did you think was going to happen? So don't come fucking, pleading poverty now. This is a fact. You was always going to pay a premium. That was what was going to happen. But anyway, going back to Carlos Borja, how did we arrive at this? Because we thought, hang on a minute, we've been told before that David Moyes has a veto on transfers. That's what we've been told. It keeps changing. The narrative keeps changing. But the information that I've got this week is that is not the case. It's not the case. Everyone knows there's a four-man committee. Noble, Steiten, Sullivan, Moyes. Everyone knows that. They're doing it on a voting system. That's what they're doing. They're doing it on a voting system. That's why we've not been able to get hardly any transfers over the line, because nobody agrees on any targets. It's not working. It's not working at all. Steiten and Moyes are not aligned. And Carlos Borja, from what I've been told, there were 3 votes for and 1 vote against. And that 1 vote against was David Moyes. He does not want the player. Which means that if this lad comes in, he ain't going to get played. Again, like I say, this may not be gospel. It's up to you. But I've had this information now. We've been sitting on a lot of it for a few days. It's a lot of it's come out in the, like I say, in Claret and Hugh. There's been other channels running stories on it. And I've had this same segment of information now about the veto thing not being the case. And it is a voting system. Moyes can't cancel a deal on his own. He can't do it. Same as he can't get a player in on his own. So how is this going to work? You know, especially if you've got 4 guys that are completely unaligned with their transfer policy. So apparently we're not close on anyone other than a £14 million starlet from Man City that we would all love to see on the pitch. But let's face it, we're probably not going to, because I doubt that David Moyes is going to use him. We know what he's like. If he gets given a player, it's going to be a case of he's going to set him up to foul, isn't he? Look, we know he is. Look at Downs. Downs wasn't a Moyes signing. Played him everywhere apart from his position, central. He played him at fucking number 10. Played him out on the wing. Wouldn't play him at central defensive midfield. Now he's trying to farm him out. We know how this works. We know how it's going to go. So look, this is really frustrating. And why the pleading poverty about Polina? Fulham have been very open and honest. He's an important player to them, like Declan Rice was to West Ham. They came out, they said, we want 90 million. That's what we want. If you want him, that's what you pay, because we don't want to sell him. That is their prerogative. That's what you do when you've got a player under contract that you don't want to sell. If somebody wants to take him away from you, you have to replace them. Look at the trouble we're having replacing Declan Rice. That's what we're looking to sort of shift that onto them. Of course they're going to want a massive lump for this player. We're trying to buy him for a reason. He's a good player, not my pick. He's 28, it's too much money. But nonetheless, he is a good player. So it is down to Fulham. They're well within their rights to be doing this. And any player that we go for now, you would like to think is going to be an important player at a team. You're not going to get him for a bargain, especially if you're just shopping in the Premier League. Now, it looks like Stuyton's suggestions are not being signed off. We don't really know who this Carlos Borget one is. I suspect it's probably a bit of a Newman one. But like I say, Stuyton will support this because he fits the profile of players that guy is associated with bringing in. He'll like this. He'll go, bring him in. He probably knows all about him anyway. That's the type of profile of player that we want and that we need. But it's from what we're being told, Moyes is that his eyes are getting bigger than his belly. He's going out there targeting players that we can't really afford, and they're in the wrong age profile. There's no business sense in signing these players. It's dead money. You're pissing the Declan Rice money down the drain. We brought Tim Stuyton in to kind of change the way that we're doing things, and it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not working. Now, look, it might all change next week. They might get their asses in gear. We might start getting some players coming through the door, but the season starts in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Now, I know we've got a long history of going out there, buying players late in the window, and when you look at some of them, you know, Lucas Paqueta, Scamacca, Bowen, they all came in late. So you can say, well, yeah, we've got success doing that. Scattergun, roulette, fucking non-strategy approach to a transfer window. That's what that is. And the thing that makes me laugh is most clubs will have a specific list of players that they want to come into their club and improve that team for next season. And they will go out and they will try and get their targets early to get them in and get them acclimatised so they can come in and affect the club in a positive way in the following season. West Ham don't do that. We go, all right, we need a midfielder, a right back, a left back. Let's sell the players first. Then we go out there and have a look what's about. Let's have a look what's about. That's what we do. And then they might get a few primary targets. We spend 90% of a transfer window fucking haggling like hell for peanuts, trying to squeeze down on deals for players that probably would be able to come in and affect us, you know, in the right way. We end up giving up on them, and then with 10% of the window left, we go out. We pay over the odds for completely different types of players because we're panicking. And yes, some of them come in, some of them are a success. But how the fuck did we go from Onana to Paqueta? How did we go from Broja to Scamacca? They're completely different players. Completely different players. There is no strategy at all in the way that we do anything. It is driving me fucking mad. I didn't want to do a rant or anything like that. I really didn't want to. But this is ridiculous. We've got this guy, and he must be thinking, Stuyton must be thinking, what am I doing here? This honestly, you know, we've got one of the best guys in the world in terms of a director of football that's got a vast knowledge of the European game, far eclipsing anything that the guys that are already at the club have got. They should be leaning on him. Even David Moyes. David Moyes is not a specialist in this field. He's a manager. This is a director of football. Let him go out and do his thing. But they're not going to do it because they're all too fucking arrogant egomaniacs. That's what they are. And we're going to start the season bearing in mind we finished. It's looking like this. It's looking like this. It could all change. We've still got 3 weeks. A lot can happen in 24 hours, let alone 3 weeks. But come on. We could feasibly be starting the season after this team was struggling with relegation all last year. You know, we were fighting relegation up until 3 games from the end. We're now without our most important player in Declan Rice. You've got to say he was our most important player, even if you don't like him, right? You don't. Played shit for Arsenal yesterday. Enjoyed that. 100 million well spent, wasn't it? That's what happens when you buy the rice without the sauce. Paqueta, see? 100 million. Just plain rice. Boring. And Antonio. Now, a lot of people don't like Antonio, but in a David Moyes system, Antonio is God. Okay? Antonio's not going to be there next year. He certainly won't be there at the start of the season because of this Jamaica thing. But he's going to go. You know, he wants to go to Saudi. They want him. We want to move him on. We'll get a fee for him. Cresswell's going to go out the door. These important characters are moving on. We're going to be starting the season with Suchek and Downs in central midfield. That is not good. It's not good. And we're likely going to be playing that same shitty backs-to-the-wall style football without Antonio up front, you know, killing himself, running after lost causes. You're going to have Skamaka looking like he wants the ground to open up and swallow him because he can't play that way. So I don't know. Look, I hope that this is a very... It's not... Well, this ain't premature. This is not a premature video. I've left this now. I've left it for a long time. We've been getting drip-fed information for a long, long time. I've tried to be positive. I've done a little bit of the Carlos Borget update. I've done all that. I've tried to, you know, try to gaslight myself, really. I've tried to get myself happier with it. But it isn't right what's happening. It's not. So look, we're going to dig into all this in much more detail later on. And we're going to talk about it and we're going to open the phone line so you can all phone in and you can tell us what your thoughts are on this continued shit show at West Ham. You know, above the playing staff, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. So I don't know what's going to happen. But look, we shall see. So I'll talk to you all later. All right, then? Gab you heads.